This is Intersections, where faith, business, and politics meet. Today we have with us my new best friend, Nicole Johnson. So Nicole, you decided you were going to do something very important. But kind of, before we get into your run for elected office, give us some background of who this Nicole Johnson is. Who are you?
I love every opportunity to talk about myself. I'm Nicole Johnson. I'm running for alderman in the 20th Ward. I grew up in the Inglewood community with my mother and my sister. My grandmother purchased a historic gravestone on 65th and Green in the Inglewood community. I'm a proud Chicago public school graduate. And early on, I learned that I always had to leave my community for good things. I left my community for school, whether it was high school or elementary school. I went to Beasley for elementary school. I went to Whitney.
Beasley?
I went to Whitney Young as well. And then I went on to the University of Michigan, studied political science in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it was then when I realized that I wanted to start a career in public service, when I wanted to decide to pursue something that would not only benefit me, but support my people.
Wait a minute now, you're getting ahead of the game.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so you grew up in Inglewood, right? And you went to one of the best grammar schools that we have on the south side of the city of Chicago, and that's Beasley. I remember the former principal over there. And so how did it look like, you growing up in one of the challenging neighborhoods that we have in the city of Chicago, African-American neighborhoods, and yet you find yourself in these top-rated public schools? How did that work?
Because I had a family that was very resourceful. We had a very well connected network where that was just common, that you would put your kids in good schools and you would find out, you would see who knew this person to, help make the call to make sure you got into the right schools.
So education does make a difference.
It really does, exceptionally.
Yeah, I remember when I was getting ready to go into high school, and my district high school was Inglewood, but my dad understood the connections, and my dad got one of his friends in business to allow us to use her address, which then meant that I could go to Hyde Park High School.
Right.
And the point was that, that was an aggressive parent. And I'm blessed that I went to Hyde Park High School, as you, I think, are blessed to have gone to Whitney as well as Beasley. But listen, Nicole, we're going to have to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss now how you were led to be in towards public life.
Okay.
Right. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So, Nicole Johnson, you decided after you left college. Now, what college did you go to?
The University of Michigan.
Where?
The University of Michigan.
Okay, all right. That's a good school, too. So you come back home, and do you go to work, or what happened?
Yes, so I started teaching as a Chicago public school teacher on the west side and the southwest side of Chicago.
And where did you teach?
I taught at Howe School of Excellence on Chicago and Laramie in the Austin community, and then I taught at Marquette School of Excellence on 65th and Richmond.
Okay, so you are a teacher too, right?
Yes.
So now, how do you get from teaching to deciding that you want to be in public service at a different level? Not that teachers aren't public service.
Absolutely. Yeah, so one of my students, Christian, he came to school and he told me, "Ms. Johnson, don't tell anybody, but the police raided my home and took my dad." And so that alarmed me that while I was doing work for Christian, I wasn't doing something enough for his father and being able to create real economic opportunities for him to support himself and his family. And it was that where a light bulb switched, and it made me wonder, how can I still believe in the transformative centers of change that schools can be in communities, but augment their place in communities to support other economic drivers in the community.
It's a powerful story, right? So now you're living in Inglewood, in which is part of the 20th Ward. And you decide that you're going to run for the august office to become city council woman or city council person of the 20th Ward. So what made that be the route for you to take?
So when I was in college, I did some work with Senator Durbin on the Hill in his office on Capitol Hill. And it was that time where I realized I was too far away from people. So, you know, I could have done work on the federal level. I also helped pass some legislation through the Illinois General Assembly, but I wanted to focus on people's everyday lives, making sure that their quality of life could be improved, and I wanted to play a role in that. And as funny as it sounds, making sure that, you know, the lights are on so they fit on the block to make sure that they feel safe coming from their car to their home, but also making sure that they have jobs that they can walk to and they don't have to, you know, travel so far to go grocery shopping. And that's the role and some of the responsibilities of the alderman.
So I get it. Your view was being an alderman put you close to the people. So,
because I just had this very strong conviction that because you said I went to good schools, I had something to give. Like I had to pay back somehow. My knowledge wasn't just for me to keep.
And so when you began to think about running for office, how did you think that you were going to make it work? You came in second, right, frankly. What gave you the skills or whatever it took to build or help or oversee or be a part of building an organization out of which you could get as close as you got to winning?
So it had a lot to my experiences in school. I went to Penn for grad school for my second master's, and
You went to where?
Penn, University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I did a fellowship at Wharton School of Business, which is one of the top business schools in the world. And just seeing how.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wharton
School of Business.
Say that again, because
Wharton School of Business.
it is a top flight school.
Yeah.
Right.
And
not to put down the University of Chicago business.
Booth, and
not to put down Northwestern.
Right, exactly.
But Wharton is in a tier all by itself. Right?
Wharton is Wharton. And so just learning how systems and businesses are built and how you have to rely on your network to develop and fundraise is how we were able to be successful.
So we want to do this. I want you now to talk about the day that you declared. I want you to talk about the effort that you put forth to get on the ballot, and so that people understand that this, when you decide to run for elected office, it involves a certain expertise, but it also involves work. All right?
Yep.
Nicole, I want you to hold your point. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
We wanted to host a conversation that will bring more attention and understanding to something that happened in the 2016 election. So what you're at today is the discussion centered around Russia, racism, and the targeting of African Americans during the 2016 presidential election.
How do you think today's discussion went?
I think it went amazing. I was really pleased to have Aisha Casaberry come from Washington, D.C., national security expert, Terrell Starr, our 2018 Global Fellow with GSA, come out from New York. It was amazing, so rich, so much depth, helping us understand what happened during 2016 and how to prepare for 2020.
And so to suggest that we should only be concerned about politics that affect us, about local politics, about the Chicago mayor's race, which are all very important issues, but they ignore the reality that we are truly global citizens. And so this kind of conversation is always very exciting for me. I'm very proud of the work that Ms. Faulkner is doing, particularly obviously with GSA and beyond. And so I want to give her a round of applause again for convening this conversation.
How do you stay up on subjects, and what moves you? Why are you so passionate about having these discussions? How do you continue to stay motivated?
So I am a firm believer that we are all connected, and whether we realize it or not, we're all connected. And so what happens in Afghanistan, in Russia, in China, in Jamaica, it affects me. So I find it to be my duty as a citizen to want to know about these things. Dr. King said very famously that we all have the moral responsibility to be educated, and for that reason I try, particularly in this generation and time where we have so many opportunities to be educated, to learn as much as I can about as many places as I can, and then try to educate other people. And I think these kinds of conversations are a non-traditional way. We don't have to be sitting in a classroom to be educated. There are a lot of other ways to do it, and this is one of those, I think.
If we really want to deal with how America became so vulnerable to this, there is no fixing of social media that will stop it, okay? Because ultimately, whether it's in person, whether it's on social media, racism is a very visceral kind of thing, right? And it's something that taps into your feelings. And it doesn't matter which tool is used to manipulate them, okay? The social media part is important, but it distracts us from the fact that America has not been able to overcome its original sin, which is racism and slavery.
During our shutdown, okay, you had the Chinese, you had the Russians, and the Iranian people pretty much targeting us through cyber threats, right? And we were definitely very vulnerable during that period of that shutdown because you had Department of Homeland Security not really in place, the State Department shut down as well, but you had other agencies open, so it's like a partial shutdown, like, defense, whatever, but we were at a vulnerable state as a result of a couple of agencies being shut down, and also you saw with the TSA situation. So, and the Russians and the Chinese took advantage of that.
How do you feel that this discussion and these types of discussion about Russia and racism are helping Americans, and especially young Americans, having these type of discussions?
Oh, I think it's very helpful because it's needed, right? You don't really see this in many education programs or just in community centers, et cetera. So there's not a lot of access to these type of conversations. So I think it was very helpful. And I was so pleased to see the amount of people that actually had some sort of feedback, questions, and concerns, because I have been part of circles of people of color, and some of them just don't have any feedback. So I've been really impressed with this audience.
So how do you think your approach in these discussions and conversations relate to the millennials? Do you think they're connecting to what is going on?
Right. So I'm in between millennial and a Gen Xer. And so I think we try to frame the discussion where they feel a part of it. We don't try and talk at them. We try and talk with them. And so a lot of this is centered around, what do you think? How do you feel? And this is what happens. And then have them tell us how they feel. Like, as you saw, one of the questions was, how do I take this back to my community, to people in the millennial generation, which was a great discussion. And it's just sharing that information, leveraging social media, leveraging your spaces and talks and curating, just offline discussions anywhere and everywhere.
And also when you're going into like the 2020 election, definitely understand the issues, understand the concepts. You can hear a lot about why is it comfortable to be a socialist, right? Or what is it about populism? Really understand those type of titles or situations, because you don't want to hop on a title that you may not understand what it's all about.
I think the most important thing for Black people to do and to engage these conversations is to bring your full self and be proud of your full self. Because if you work in any aspect of America in this economy, I think that there's a way that these white power structures try to convince us that our voices and our opinions and our experiences don't matter, and that you have to graduate from a certain university, you have to be affiliated with a particular organization, you have to be a part of a particular class of people in order for your insights to be contributing to the foreign policy discourse. And I just want to say that's simply not true.
I think every time I see a panel where I don't see a Black face and they're talking foreign policy, it motivates me. And so for me, it's constantly pushing inclusivity into global affairs and making sure that our people feel part of that conversation, and not just being at the table and a part of it, but helping to lead and narrate, because I think that our unique trajectory makes us leaders by default, and we have a level of resiliency that we should, give to the world. And so I'm just motivated by this mission to see diversity at the highest global level. I'm Aprisha Faulkner, the founder and CEO of Global Strategists Association, and you're watching and listening to Urban Broadcast Media, the voice of Black intellectualism.
So, Miss Nicole Jackson, so you decide to run for alderman. And that kind of describe for us what that's like. Because many of the young people out here and others who may be interested in elective office, oftentimes we say, look, this is what I want to do. But do we understand what it takes to do it, the mechanics, if you will, of just getting on the ballot?
Right.
So start from the moment you made a decision to do it, and then walk us through what it took to get you to the place that you were running for office.
The day I made my decision was about March 11th, 2017. I was at a Black women's political training in Tampa, and Senator Maddie Hunter is on the board of the organization that convened these Black women from across the entire country to spend a weekend in Tampa and learn how to run a campaign and be a candidate. I made that decision, and who was there was Senator Maddie Hunter, who actually is the senator for most of the 20th ward, if not all, most of the 20th ward. And I told her that I wanted to run for this office, and she said, I'll hold your hand. So while my youth is on my side to, give me the energy to push through, to door knock every day, to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to bed at 11 and do it all over again, whether it's 80 degrees outside or 20 degrees outside, I knew to surround myself with the elders and people that knew what they were doing and would be able to show me the ropes.
Okay, well, let's then take a little step back. Now, you had to get on the ballot first.
Yes.
And if my memory serves correctly, it was, I think, within 2 weeks before the election that it was announced that you were on the ballot, right? So what happened? What about I guess it was the petitions that you filed, and how many petitions did you file?
I filed 2,727 signatures.
Wow, that's a lot.
And the bulk of them came from me because I'm a full-time candidate, so I was able to be out all day, all night that need be. Our signatures were a challenge, but it took me reaching out to my different networks like my sorority for them to come and sign up to volunteer, circulate petitions with me, stand outside of the early voting location during early voting for the November election, showing up to the community meetings, introducing myself and asking people to help me get on the ballot, and then let's keep the conversation going so I can get their vote.
And you filed, tell me again, 2,000?
727.
That was 2,700 people that decided that they were going to support you. And apparently, when we look at the figures, 1,641 of them showed up.
Yes.
So now you're on the ballot. And so what was the campaign trail like?
It depends on the day. You get opportunities to showcase your presence on shows like this. You door knock, you host meet and greets in people's homes, you spend a lot of time fundraising, calling people, or hosting events to fundraise.
Well, and you've had to raise a lot of money.
Yes, I've raised close to $80,000.
Close to $80,000, that's a whole lot of money. 80,000, dot, right, $80,000.
Yes.
Got yourself 2,700 people to agree to sign your petition. That's quite a tall amount for a young lady your age. Nicole, when we come back, we're going to talk about the issues that you're in a runoff, and so we want you to talk about the issues now that you think are most important to the electorate. We're going to be right back, and when we come back, we're going to have our final segment. Stay with us.
Reporting live for Urban Broadcast Media, I'm Devontae Jefferson. What we just witnessed today were hundreds of religious leaders showing their support for Toni Preckwinkle in the second round of this mayoral race between Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot. They came out, showed their support in a packed house, and we're witnessing history as we will have an African-American woman who is the mayor of Chicago for the very first time. Check it out.
We're going to begin this press conference as we have come from all across the city of Chicago and surrounding areas for pastors and faith leaders to endorse the candidacy of Tony Preckwinkle for the next
Well, we're here today to support Tony Preckwinkle in regards to the runoff that's being held. It's very important that we come out and we show our support in what we believe.
And so we need someone who is qualified, who knows where the bodies are buried and the skeletons and the bones.
Come on now.
Go in, roll up her sleeves, and make change. Because what we need right now is a positive change.
We have to make it happen because it's time for change. And I feel so strongly that she is the person to bring forth that change. She's proven a lot even as being president of the Cook County right now. She's brought change there, and I believe she'll balance off the city.
There has been times when, as business owners, you just don't get the necessary attention that you need, the opportunities to be at the table in the beginning of contract opportunities are not part of what happens in our community a lot. She's made that accessibility to us.
The importance of getting out to vote the second time is to make history for one. And for two is to make sure that we get our city the person that we need, who knows this job, who we don't have to teach, who we don't have to follow around, who we don't have to complain about. We know that she's going to do the job from what she has done before. We're not thinking about machines, we're thinking about people.
That's why I believe from the start of my political career that it's crucial to work hand in hand with all of you, our faith leaders, because you understand the needs of our communities and you are our moral compass, guiding us to do what's right for our neighborhoods.
It is important that we get behind the best candidate, the qualified candidate, be it if it's female or male. I'm excited that we have a female that is going to be the next mayor. And I am looking forward to working with, pushing forward, and making change here in the city of Chicago.
The importance of that is not just to make history for a woman, it's to make history for the African American women who has never had the chance to become the mayor of the city of Chicago, and one that we know that will do the job not only for a paycheck, but for the betterment of the people.
I look forward to working with you for a better and brighter future for Chicago. And thank you for placing your trust in my vision for a united Chicago that works for all of our neighborhoods.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Now it's time to talk about the issues. You're in a runoff, and your opponent is Jeanette Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And she polled 2,147 votes, and you polled 1,641. But now you're in a runoff, and it is may the best woman win, right? So, winning with what? What are the issues that you think, as you've gone from door to door and worked in the community, what are the issues that make a difference in the lives of people that may cause them to vote for you?
So our campaign runs on 3 basic values that we've come up with based on the conversations that we had while canvassing, while going to people's community events, looking at the documents they present, and what do they want to see. Economic empowerment, exceptional schools, and safe communities.
Economic empowerment.
Exceptional schools and safe communities. These are all values that we believe and the community believes should be present in order for people to thrive.
Mm-hmm. So economic empowerment,
exceptional schools, and safe communities,
and safety.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get a grip on getting all schools? You're a teacher. How do we get a grip on making schools exceptional so that every kid has an opportunity to go to an exceptional school?
Right. So at present, schools are funded by property taxes, and depending on the value of the land and the market around that school, they'll either be well resourced or they won't be. And so in our communities, as you mentioned, there is a significant divestment, meaning there aren't a lot of dollars percolating through the community to pour into the school. So in the interim, as we're working to build up the tax base, increase the number of people there, increase the number, the median income, we want to augment the programming and curriculum offerings that are available to the schools by finding different nonprofits and other programs that could make the school offerings more robust. What does that mean? Some of our schools, for instance, Emmett Till, that's on 65th and Champlain, it's underutilized and it's flying on the radar until it gets on the chopping block. The entire second floor is pretty much empty and they don't have a functioning library. This is the circumstances we find our schools in. What can we do, what can I do as an alderman with my influence? Well, I can find an organization that can, of course we can lobby the state to make sure we get more money, but in the interim, we can find an organization that's able to provide those literacy programs that our kids are missing. And that can be something that they get after school. So that type of co-location and making our schools offering more robust can do one of two things. We make sure that we utilize all the space that we have. Two, the school will be open and of service for the community beyond the 3 p.m. school day. And four, we're expanding our reach. This service can also be something for the parents as well.
Thank you. So here's the deal. We've got less than 2 minutes now, and you're running for elective office. I want you to look right directly into the camera, and I want you to tell people why they should vote for Nicole Johnson.
Hi, I'm Nicole Johnson, and I thank you so much for joining us today. If you want someone who's young and scrappy and is going to fight to the very end and make sure you get what you deserve, you should vote for Nicole Johnson. If you want a candidate who is going to increase the transparency and that you have a say in the decisions that are made about your backyard, vote for Nicole Johnson. If you want someone that you're not going to hear from them just on election day or for asking you to sign their petition, vote for Nicole Johnson. If you think that we deserve better, which we do in the 20th Ward, vote for Nicole Johnson. Please head to my website at NicoleJChi.com. That's NicoleJChi.com. Our office is on 5517 South Halsted. I'm asking you to join me.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us. I think that it's important that we all participate in this next election. Vote as if your life depended on it. Vote because that's one of the ways that you can ensure we have the candidates and the government that we deserve. This is Leon Finney, and this has been Intersection. See you next week.